I've got Peter with me. Greetings, Peter.
Good day. How are you?
Peter, also known as Gonnagoforit, does a few things online. You might have seen him in chat. I thought you were a bot.
No.
For a long time on Aaron Ross' channel, I've seen you a moderator there, and we at you to send our messages. So I thought it was a bot, and then I saw you post on a friend of mine's channel. I'm like, oh, he's a person. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you're everywhere, and you're just busy as crazy. What do you do?
A lot. First of all, I want to say hi to Phantom X because it's been a while, Phantom. Been busy. So I started out in 2015 with my own channel after bumping into some guy called Kent Hovind. I bet we're all a fan of his work. And then things kind of spiraled out of control because started out with first with the Twitter account, then with YouTube, and then obviously you figure out that there's an entire community that's a good community, by the way, and so you start to meet all kinds of people. So made a whole lot of friends in the YouTube community. Then I thought I'd start a YouTube channel. And back then I was still recording my interviews and then posting them later because I didn't have any decent software to live stream. And I didn't, well, back then you had Google Hangouts, which also wasn't the greatest. And from there started learning how to do things with OBS, making artwork, and then my own channel. I made a whole lot of artwork for other people because I have limited funding. So the only way, usually you would support people through Patreon or through channel memberships or something like that. I do that differently. I pick the ones that I want to support and I make artwork, and so.
Yeah, you have a few intros on your channel for various people.
Yes.
That I'm aware of them. I've seen them and interacted with them at different levels, and I was like, "Hey, I know that person. Oh, I know that." It's like,
yeah. Well, and so I had a few things on my bucket list, and I'd never made an intro for a god, which we managed to do, I think, a year and a half, 2 years ago. Me and a friend of mine from Australia made an intro for the goddess Hathor that people might know from Stargate SG-1. So her name is Sue Ann Brown. She had during the pandemic, she had a podcast on YouTube, and made artwork for her. So that is kind of cool.
I think that you're rubbing shoulders with the rather well-known person, Aaron Ra. How did you manage to get into that? What happened there?
Oh, let's start at the beginning. So, as I said, I found a community, a really good community. One of my earliest friends was a guy from Louisiana called Jackson Wheat. Probably people will know him. And so at some point, someone emailed Jackson Wheat that they wanted to debate Aaron Ra. And Jackson, being a beginning YouTuber, thought, hey, that might be cool to have that on my channel. So he messaged Aaron and set it up. And when Aaron agreed, I got a panicky email saying, I just set up a debate with Aaron Ra and some other guy, but I do not know anything about moderating. Help! So I said, I'm more than happy to help. So no problem. So we promoted the show highly, And then Jackson had the great idea, because both of us were newcomers. Jackson had the great idea to just see who this guy was that was going to debate Arn Ra. And it turned out that this guy is a total idiot. He went by the name of Mr. ID.
What?
And
a total idiot? Oh,
yes.
Man, we've never seen that before.
Well, basically his idea of testing whether or not there's an intelligent designer was sheets of tissue and eggs.
Sure, why not?
We thought we may have to tell Arn what he's getting himself into. So a few days before the debate, we sent Arn an email and said, "Hey, do you have a minute? Can we talk? Because we need to talk." So Arn came on and said, "What's up?" And so we said, "Well, this guy you're going to debate is we should have checked him out, but he's an idiot." And we told him a little bit about him. And Arn, and this is where Arn gained my respect, which he already had, because for some reason long before that he had called me about something. I don't know what that was. I kind of forgot. But I was kind of blown away. Arn calling me out of the blue. I get a telephone call. "Hey, it's Arn Ra." It's Arn Ra? Okay. So, but then he said, "You guys have been promoting the show." And I gave my word that I would be there, so I'm going to be there. So that to me just shows respect for other people. And so, yeah, that debate went terribly, as to be expected. During his opening statement, Arn decided to go clean his room. That's how interested he was in his opening statement. Well, and it's still on Jackson's channel. It's yeah. We're all different back then, except for Arn, but it might be worth watching.
So. Oh yeah, I find that I learn new things. The bad debate, whether even when both sides lose, you still learn something about something at some level, human nature. Mm-hmm. Or how people communicate or miscommunicate, and so there's always something to learn. I find them interesting, but yeah. I love informal logic. So yeah, I mean that's really cool. You're very proactive, very prolific. Do you have a deconversion story at all, or have you always been a atheist? Tell me about that.
I live in a country that we're now at least more than 80% of the people identify as either atheist or non-believers. So I grew up as an atheist in an atheist country. I think we had one family in the street that I grew up in who were Catholic, and all I knew about them that they were Catholic and they went to church, and that was it. I had no clue. No one ever explained to me what that was, what they were doing in the church. So.
And where is that?
In the Netherlands.
Netherlands. Okay. Because I was just looking up who had the who in the world was the most atheist, and was Sweden was up there, Netherlands, mm-hmm. and Hong Kong was, I think, the biggest. So yeah.
Yeah.
So neither your parents or guardians or whatever you might have had didn't have a particular religion, so you just didn't grow up with that. Then. Interesting.
No one in my family. So the first time I got into contact with religion was I think it was 14 or 16. I can't really remember, when the wife of a friend of ours died, and I didn't know, but she turned out to be Catholic as well. So she had a Catholic service for the burial, which was the most secular service you can ever think about, because God wasn't mentioned, Jesus wasn't mentioned. This was basically a guy in a church talking about the woman who had just passed away, talked about what she liked to do, her hobbies, her friends, her life. That was it. There was, apart from the fact that he was wearing a robe, it could have been a secular service, and there was an organ playing, so that was, and it was in a church. So that was the only thing that I've ever encountered. And then the second time I encountered religion was in the army, where my superior had created his own religion, I guess. And what I didn't know back then, he was a young Earth creationist, and he made us listen to sermons all day. So what I did, being I was a driver in the army, so I just took on driving jobs from other platoons, and made sure that I was away most of the time, because I didn't care for the whole sermon thing.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. Well, I was in the military, but it's America, so your military might be sub differently. But we had chaplains.
Very different.
Yeah, we have chaplains, and the chaplain is supposed to provide you with whatever religious stuff you want, or non-religious. She is supposed to also protect service members from having to deal with religion that they don't want to deal with. So I think there was nothing like that. Okay. Maybe you weren't aware of them.
I've never seen one. So that was a person you could go to if you had any problems and go talk to. I've never seen.
Yeah. They were always officers because of that, so that they could have some power. So I don't know if maybe nobody told you that you had it at the time. Who knows? But yeah, I was just wondering about that, whether you guys had that.
Yeah, we had those, and I think we still have those. But as I said, it's
one thing to have
more
them
secular than it is here.
Yeah,
We would have someone who at least was trained in psychology, for instance, so not someone who just was a part of a church, because he or she might not be a good person to talk to when you got problems.
Yeah. Well, because it would seem to me that the person in charge, making you listen to sermons, that would be a breach of rules or conduct of some level.
Well, this guy got in trouble a lot about his actions in the army. So it wasn't sanctioned. Or even condoned most of the stuff that he did. So.
Okay. Well, okay, that's good, because I was worried about that. I was like, oh no.
I have to get back, because I didn't finish my
sorry. Go ahead.
Thing. So
sorry.
I got in touch with Arne through Jackson, and then obviously I had Arne on my show at some point, and then I started producing for Jackson. Because Jackson wants to concentrate more on the science, which I get. I like fiddling around with OBS to see what I can do to make some of the things look a little bit more impressive. And then Jackson had a show planned with Arne, and I had been thinking about that for 2 years, and I finally said to Arne, hey, I love your stuff, but I think your production value can be better, and I think I can do that. And so I showed him an intro that I made for him, and he said, "You're hired, but I can't pay you." And I said, "I'm not asking for pay. I mean, this is what I do, and I just love to do it."
Is that the heavy metal music opening that he has?
Everything you see on Arne's live shows, where I'm the producer, all of the artwork except for the music is made by me. So I make the intros, the outros, I make the layout for the show, everything. And I got free hand from Arne. Arne just says, "Okay, go make me something." And then the only thing he will criticize ever is music, which I mean, and that's fair enough because we all like different music. But I got completely uh, carte blanche about the graphics that I want to use for his shows, and from there. I became basically a full producer for Arn. So when he's live on certain shows, he might use my email address for people to contact him. I will be helping him setting up shows. We're currently setting up a show, which I think is very interesting, about a woman who's writing a book about how metal Neanderthals were. And yes, we're talking about metal as in metal, the kind of music Arn likes. So I thought Arn should know about the book, and he said immediately, okay, I need to interview this woman. And so we're setting that up.
Yeah, I mean,
basically it's from producing for Arn, then it spiraled out a little, and now I'm producing for Arn. I'm still officially the producer for Jefferson Spatchcock, but he hasn't done a lot of live shows lately. I'm also the producer now for, and she will be back soon, Scientist Mel, Jackson Wheat, and Natalia Reagan, which is one of the recent people that most recent thing that developed, because I loved her on Twitter with her short videos, and I didn't know anything about her other than that I saw her on Twitter, and I just shot her an email and said, hey, we need to talk because you need a live show on YouTube, and I'll help you. Wow. And so I got an email back, hey, that would be great. So we started talking. I think we talked for 2 or 3 hours the first time we talked. And then I figured out who she was. So she worked with Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye. She's been in movies. She's been in famous TV shows. She's got her own stand-up comedy show in LA. There's almost nothing she doesn't do. So, and we're not basically starting to get her channel rolling. So.
Yeah, maybe.
And she has the coolest guests too, because she's friends with a lot of people in science, because she's also an anthropologist and a primatologist. Her work on the spider monkey that she did for her degree led to an increase of the spider monkey population. So that's good.
Yeah, cool.
And yeah, we're going to have some very good people joining there. So a little spoiler, April 2nd, we're going to have Neil Shubin on, the guy who found Tiktaalik. And there's a lot more in the pipeline. So
wow,
that's going to be cool.
Like I said, you're everywhere. I mean, you're very generous with with what you can contribute. That you're giving time and energy to people and all that, and you're helping people. Why the passion, though? I mean, why do this thing that we do? I get that question every now and then. Why do you talk about this thing that you don't believe in? Okay, go ahead.
For me, that's easy because I saw 100 Reasons Why Evolution is Stupid. It's a video from Kent Hovind, and I thought, if there are adults who are believing this, then we need to do something. And I want to contribute to that. I don't know what I can do, if I can make people see things differently, but I'm gonna go for it. So, and I needed a name, so I was gonna go for it, and I've been gonna go for it from that particular point on. And I think out of everything, even the people that I work with, the most important thing for me is that I frequently get emails from people who said, hey, I was a believer, I was a young earth creationist, I've been watching your stuff, I've been watching the people you produce for, and I walked away from everything, and I figured out I started doing my own research, and now I know that I've been lied to. And every single time I get an email like that, that is my payment in full. That's why I do it, and why I keep doing it.
Yeah.
And at the start, I said I'm not going to ask people for money, and I still don't. Although my private situation has changed. I've retired, so I had to take a pretty hefty cut in my income, but I still can manage. So
I don't think anybody would be upset if you did start doing that, or seeking monetary.
Well, I'm not going to monetize my channel, but maybe and hundreds of people have asked me, make an Amazon wish list so we can help out. And I have one, and I have had one for, I think, 5 years at least now.
Yeah, there's a Ko-fi thing.
I've never published it, so if people tell me, hey, make an Amazon wish list, oh, I got that. Oh, where is it? Yeah, I haven't published it yet.
Well, yeah. I mean, maybe. You gotta, and then there's of course the Ko-fi, buy me a coffee website thing like that, and stuff. So, but I mean, and you could commission out your art or something like that. I mean, but I sort of have the same thought of, I only asked for money on my channel when I needed it. And then once I didn't, I stopped. And it's like, well, I've moved, and it's kind of more expensive here, so maybe. And it's like, I don't know. But yeah, it's one of those things. So, as somebody that never had this concept of a God, when you first encountered that somebody believed that. Tell me about that. Like, what was that like? What were you thinking, like, encountering a person that believed this thing that you just is like, what is that like? What was that like?
So I never understood it. And in order to figure out, I thought the best way to do this is to just go read the Bible. So I read the Bible cover to cover over, I think, a period about a little less than a year. And that didn't help either, because who the hell would believe something like that? I mean, if you just read it and don't know anything about religion, have never been to church, just sounds insane. And there's so much in there that we know that isn't true. So the earth isn't flat. It isn't 6,000 years old. Dinosaurs and humans didn't live together. We weren't all created at one particular point. None of it is true. Every single claim that the Bible makes about the natural world is wrong.
Yeah, people don't live to 900 years old and 800 years old. I love the exact numbers. You live to 777. It's like, oh, that's just, of course, it's all numerology is why they live to those ages. It's just for numerology reasons. That's not really, how long they live, but the Jewish people loved.
For some religions, at least there's an explanation, because the ones that preceded, I forgot the one, the ones that preceded Christianity had a base 60.
Judaism.
Well, not Judaism. Before that.
Oh, Zoroastrianism.
So those people lived for 18,000 years, but that was in a base 60 system, which was converted to the decimal system in the completely wrong way. So that's where you came up with those numbers. But I don't think that's the. For up to a point, that what might have been the case for the Old Testament too. But
there's a lot of the ages. A lot of the ages in the Torah, because of numerology, that they mean something for the Jewish people. The numbers, when you add them up, they mean a certain word or idea, and so that matters, and so that's why.
Well, no, that's I don't think that's the case. So in the Old Testament, it is still where.
The base thing also. I think it's a mix.
The base thing comes in.
But
And yeah, the numerology, I don't think that's even a thing. That is, I think, a far more recent thing. Where people started figuring this out, and you can do that not just with the Bible, you can do that with Harry Potter as well. You get
anything,
results, because if you're going to look for something and you want to look for something specific, you're going to find it, and then you can basically fit that into your narrative quite easily.
Yeah, I mean, the thing's been changed.
It's the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, right?
Yeah. And it's been
counting
changed
the
so
hits
many.
and ignoring the misses, and then you're a sharpshooter. Okay, so that's how that works.
And it's been changed so many times, it's hard to know, really, anyways, at this point. It's like, now you're into philosophy and specifically...
No. Philosophy, no.
Not philosophy, sorry.
No.
The one specific thing of philosophy, epistemology, that says on your about thing that you're really into that. So that is a subset of philosophy. So I guess there might that's where I got that idea from. So what you tell me about that? How do you view that? Why is that?
Being a fan of Arn, at some point Arn did a collaboration with Anthony Magnabosco, who was going to teach him street epistemology, which is still one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And I have mocked Arn about it. I mean, this is a guy who's been taught something for an entire day, then let loose, and just basically turns into a bull in a china shop, just butchering everything he learned over the course of the entire day. But I like the approach that Anthony Magnabosco has, and a lot of people have copied it or doing the same thing. And so I had an interview with Anthony Magnabosco in which he basically told us the ropes and the how and why. And I think that when you talk to a believer, that's the best way to do it, because it's non-aggressive. You're not attacking a person, but it is the best way to make a person think about their own points, their own positions, which they don't do a lot. I mean, people get told what they need to believe in church, and that's basically it. I always say that Christians, for the most part, don't read the book, but they go to the church for the book report and get a completely biased book report. So.
Yeah, and they don't know the history of it, or how it was assembled and all that stuff. And
they're not interested in it either.
Yeah. But yeah, I was gonna add, about epistemology. I've had a system for a long time where I say one of three things is what I need to believe anything is empirical evidence, a repeatable test, or a sound argument. And I've always said, well, is there something I'm missing there? And so I'm wondering if that's a good enough thing to have, or should I add to it, or what do you think of that?
No, I think you basically got it covered. I mean, I could parrot Arn, but Arn and I, we agree on most things. Truth is what the facts are, and if you know something, then you will be able to demonstrate it, and if you can't demonstrate it, then you don't know it.
Right.
And so.
Yeah. And I've also learned that, you don't need to know the answer to know what the answer is not. It's like, I don't know how the universe is here, whatever, but I know it's not this or that, or these other, these explanations, I know those are wrong, and here's why I know those are wrong.
And they're not explanations. They're claims.
They're not. Yeah, they're claims,
unfounded claims. And if there's nothing to back up your claim, then we can dismiss it. I mean, Hitchens' razor, what is asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence, and that is it. Then we're done.
How do you deal, and this is an unsolved problem, of hard solipsism? that it's like, oh, I can only know I exist, and I don't know if this real world is real. Every
Yeah, it
now and
doesn't
then
matter.
yeah.
It doesn't.
Oh,
It doesn't matter because whether or not I'm a brain in a vat, which I don't believe, because I live close to one of the people in music that I admire most, Angus Young. He lives down the road a couple of miles. If I'm a brain in a vat, and I thought up the music that he and his brother wrote for AC/DC, and I invented the way he plays the guitar, which is kind of unique. I don't believe that I can do that because I have a guitar and I can't play anything. Now, mostly because I don't have feeling in my fingertips anymore because of an accident early in life. But I can't do that. But it doesn't matter. If I'm a brain in a vat, it doesn't matter. I still have to deal with the reality that I'm presented with, and I need to interact with the reality that I'm presented with and do whatever I want to do within that reality. So to me, it doesn't matter if I'm a brain in a vat or not. It's a non-issue.
yeah.
If it's an issue, it's something that I can't change. And it doesn't change anything about how I look at reality and what I think about reality. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a stupid argument.
Yeah, I just reduced it down to lobsters exist. Can we move on? That it's like, look, if we can't agree on reality being real, then I don't know that we can even have a conversation. So it's like lobsters exist. All right, moving on. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, William Lane Craig. I'm sure you've heard of this idiot. And he recently had a video basically where Alex, who's kind of gotten rather famous as of late, was asking him, what if there was an argument against Christianity or whatever. William Lane Craig basically said that it didn't matter because you still had your personal experience of God. So we have experiences of all sorts, and some people have experiences of a thing that they call God. And how do we respond to this inner experience that people claim to have?
Quite easy. You can't trust your own senses. So you had an experience. The first thing you need to do is to see whether or not other people can confirm that what happened to you actually happened to you. And if they can't, then you shouldn't take it up as something real. It can be evidence for you, but I mean, why would you just take? I had a guest on yesterday, and it's been the fourth time that he's been on my channel. The week before that, we had him on as well, where me and my co-host talked to him because I also host conversations. I don't host debates because I hate debates, but I host conversations. And stealing from Kent Hovind works well. So one of the things that Kent Hovind likes to say, if he has something, Second Opinions, chapter 2, verse 3, that is basically when it's something that he thought up and isn't necessarily in the Bible. So our show's called Second Opinions because it's not us, it's other people. But I had this guy on, and what converted him was that he had a wart on his hand, then prayed to God, make my wart go away, and 2 months later, he totally forgot about having prayed about it, and 2 or 3 months, might even have been 5, he looked at his hand, and his wart had gone away. And he thought, okay.
Amazing. Yeah, warts never do that. Yeah.
How on earth is this something that leads you to a God? Because why did he wait so long?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah,
I mean, and those are the things that I can't understand. The fact that people just think about stuff like that, and I will never be old enough that I can understand people like that.
When I was still a believer, went to a church and they would do, praises, good things that happened in your life. So you're supposed to stand up and say whatever it was. And this one guy's like, I've been looking for work for 11 years and finally I have a job. Thank God. And I'm like, what took so long? like you were looking for work for 11 years, but now finally God pulled through. Yay. Like, what?
Yeah.
Even then, it didn't make sense. And I did believe in God at the time, so I was like, what? And I'm like, you've been looking for that long? Like, what do you mean?
The weird thing is, I can talk with this guy because I have talked with him offline for a long time. He's a nice guy. We share some of our interests. We definitely share some of the types of music we like. So and what irks me most is when people say, okay, he's an idiot. No, he's not an idiot. He might be gullible, but he's not an idiot. And calling him an idiot, I don't think helps, because if you really want to have a decent conversation with people, and if you want them to change something about their own epistemology, the worst thing you can do is call them an idiot, because then they're going to dig in their heels and you get nowhere. And one of the things that I've learned is that the person you're talking to, you might not be able to convince the person you're talking to, but you might be able to convince someone who is watching the show. And if you're sitting there calling this guy an idiot, those people will dig in their heels, and those people will not check out what you're saying and trying it out for themselves either. So I think that's, and I've done it. I mean, I'm not saying it because this is something that I've never done. I've done it. I've done it in this show with Mr. ID. Who I still think is an idiot, because nine, as he said it within his accent, 9 shits of paper, a tissue and an egg. At 9 shits, the egg didn't fall through, and so that proves an intelligent designer. I still don't know. I've heard him explain it a ton of times, and I still don't know what he's talking about. But,
I'd have to listen to that, because I have no idea.
Well, he wrote several scientific books too.
Oh.
And bought them and wrote his own reviews, which is a whole.
Okay, of course. He didn't do peer review, but he did do books. Yeah, well, I have books too. Anybody can.
No, he wrote his own reviews on Amazon.
Oh, but
on the different
peer
accounts,
review.
which.
Yeah. That's great. He didn't actually publish the paper though. He did. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot about science because of Ron and others like that over time, and I never had the whole anti-evolution thing as a Christian. It was like it didn't come up at all, and it wasn't even mentioned. So it was never an issue for me. Although I was afraid for a moment that it could be. I was like, wait a minute. Is this compatible? And I looked and I was like, okay, I found Biologus. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's fine, whatever. And so I just, didn't ever really do anything to my beliefs, But what did eventually was all these pesky atheists always asking me to prove, that it's true. And I'm like, well, I don't get it. Why haven't we done this? I thought we had all this proof. Well, it turns out we don't have any proof. That's why,
No.
But I had to find that for myself. I had to take that journey, and a lot of people have not taken that journey.
This you just basically answered a question in the chat. You got Fordex Alpha, who said, "Why should a believer become an unbeliever?"
The truth matters.
Basically check your own position and see whether or not it holds water. And if it doesn't, you should walk away from that position. And for Christianity, that is pretty easy to do, actually, because all you need to do is pick up the Bible, see what claims it makes, And then you will come to the conclusion, yeah, that this never happened because there's no evidence for it. And what's worse, there's evidence against it.
Yeah.
And no matter what you pick, and for me still, people say, well, there was Jesus. Okay, I don't think there was a Jesus. There's no record of there ever being a Jesus. If this guy was so incredible doing all these kinds of miracles, people would have noticed. Yeah. And funny, they didn't. Because no historian wrote about him. No historian has any record of anything Jesus ever did. Even the Bible has no record of what Jesus did. What you have in the Bible is secondhand knowledge. It's hearsay. I am in a show. Shut up. So last summer I was working at a friend's house, and from one moment to the next I had this tiny parrot on my shoulder, and he said hi, and so he didn't want to leave again. So I got a cage and everything. So he now lives in my studio because the house is too small for this gigantic cage to put it in. And he likes to butt in all the time when I'm talking, so
it's okay.
If you hear a bird in the background, I'm starting to be like Arn Ra. I mean, Arn has Falcor in the background. I have this guy who's always next to me when I'm doing a show, and Arn has the parrot calling him Arn, 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 and I have this stupid thing at the other side of the room going.
Sheep, sheep. Yeah, it's good background noise. We'll edit it. We'll edit it out later.
he's figured out several things. He learned how to knock on the cage. So every single time I go like this on the table, then he will start knocking on the cage, and he's a lot of fun. So
I've been presented over the years of doing this. I've come across many different questions that have made me kind of go, I don't know how to answer that. One of them was like, okay, well, one of these typical, like, well, how do you explain X? How do you explain the universe or life or whatever it is? And it's like, well, there's definitely a mystery to some degree. I don't know how great that mystery is myself, because I only know a little tiny bit of what science has figured out. The fact that reality is here and that we're here and all this is quite amazing and a mystery, and it astounds me. And the real way that it really works is fascinating to me. Do we have to know all of that, or how much should we know, or should we keep, obviously I think we should learn as much as possible, but for some it's like, well, if you don't have a concrete answer, then I'll just believe what I want, kind of thing. And I'm like, well,
that's not how it works.
Yeah, it's not really how it works.
If you don't have an answer, you don't get to make up an answer and then calling that truth. That's not how that works. And science doesn't know everything. That doesn't mean that for the things where science hasn't come up with an answer yet, that you can just plug in an answer and say, okay, I think it's this, and therefore that's a fact. It isn't.
Yeah. Your door opens mysteriously. You can't just say it's a ghost. You'd have to have evidence of a ghost in the first place, and that ghosts can open doors. So
Vortex Alpha in the chat says, I make no claims. I very much doubt that, but I'd love to talk to you. So get in touch with me. Go to the Gonnagoforit channel. The email's there. We'll have
I
a
make
conversation.
No claims is a claim.
Yeah.
So.
Someone here made a claim. Yeah, he said someone here made a claim that gods do not exist. The ball's on your end. I can prove that the God of the Bible doesn't exist.
Yeah, it depends which God you're talking about.
Using the Bible, I don't need anything else.
Yeah, it would depend.
The Bible's evidence that God is impossible to exist. Period. And that's just based on the properties that the Bible gives this God.
The other
if they're mutually exclusive, then that God cannot exist.
The
it's
other
very easy to do.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Nothing but professionalism here, folks.
No, sometimes there's a slight delay even in StreamYard. I've come across it a lot of times, so it's never a problem.
No, I always make fun of myself because, I'm still getting slightly better at interviews, but, I had somebody say...
That's how you learn.
Yeah. I had somebody say, and this, I didn't know how to respond to it, that they would rather die and be wrong about God existing than not believe God existed and die and be wrong. And I said, well, what does believing have to do with, or what happens once you're dead? That if there was a God, why would it care if you believed in it or not? That's a question. But also this, I'd rather be wrong and die being wrong than, or if I'm right, this Pascal, it's kind of the Pascalian wager thing. And
I shouldn't look at the chat. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah, that's
I shouldn't
look
at the
right.
chat, but
it's absolutely fine.
This is a question I cannot not respond to.
Right.
Vortex Alpha. Does evolution explain the course of the universe and life? That is asking whether or not a car mechanic can explain how a computer processor works. This is one, and I'm not saying that you're stupid. You probably didn't get that question from yourself, but you got it from a creationist website. This is a very stupid question because evolution only explains one thing, and that's the diversity of life on the planet. It doesn't explain life. It doesn't explain the universe. It also doesn't explain where cars come from, right? It doesn't explain how computers work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want.
So if you ask that question, the only thing you're showing is your incredulity because you've never looked into the topic and never looked into what evolution actually is and what it claims and what it can confirm. So,
right. Yeah, evolution is you want cosmology for the universe and you want abiogenesis for life in general.
Yes.
I suppose,
and you'd be surprised how much we know about abiogenesis. I mean, the fact that we know that RNA can spontaneously form, giving the right environment and the right things that happen within that environment. It happened multiple times by accident during an experiment that didn't have the goal to create RNA. So this is something that scientists have discovered by accident, that RNA can form on its own, and RNA is what makes DNA. It creates DNA in the body, in the cell of every living organism on the planet. That is where DNA comes from. So I'd be more than happy to give you that paper, but you can Google it. If you type in RNA forming spontaneously on Google, you will get links to at least 2 of the papers because that's how I figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
Don't believe me. Don't believe anything I say, but check whether or not what I say is actually true.
Yeah,
and that is easy enough to do. You've got the internet.
And really the burden is upon you if you're saying that these things aren't true, or if you're looking for a grand explanation for all of reality. I can't offer you that. I can only tell you
This is my claim, right? I just claimed that RNA can form spontaneously.
Yeah.
I can prove that what I'm saying is correct. But then you still have to believe me when I show you the evidence that I have. I would much more like you to just type it into Google, find the actual paper, and then see the paper, see what happens, read the entire paper. Don't just read the abstract, because that's not going to help you. Go and find the actual paper, read it. If you don't understand it, go to someone who understands it, who isn't biased about any religion, and who can explain what is said in the paper. I mean, I'm not the most intelligent person on the planet. If I can understand it, I'm pretty sure you can. So, and this is how I think it should work. If someone makes a claim, go check their claim. That's what I do with the religious people, and this is what religious people should do with my claims.
Yeah, he keeps asking for papers. I think he just wants to remain ignorant and not do any research of his own. But yeah, at any rate, I just had somebody that said that they. I said, I'll send you a book on informal logic. Will you read it? And he said, I'll look at it. And I said, no, will you read it? He's like, well, maybe. And I'm like, okay, you're dead to me. You don't want to learn. Yeah, I'm done with you. You know, he and this is after years and years of asking him about informal logic. He pretended to not know what it was, and then proceeded to reject reading a book about it because he doesn't want to know what it is. Yeah, he doesn't want to learn. He has all these arguments, these typical creationist arguments. And I said, you don't even know why your arguments are bad because you don't know the system of logic. Why don't you learn that? Oh, well, and it's like, you don't have a reason. You want to remain ignorant. So if you think that you can overturn science in any way, shape, or form, great. You produce a peer-reviewed paper. Don't bring it to us, okay? I posted the link to the paper that one of the papers that I mentioned. So you have to be a mod in order to. Oh yeah. Put that in the. I don't know how to make people mods. Put it in the private chat.
That is quite easy. Click on the person in the chat on the 3 dots behind them in chat, and then you can choose to make people a mod.
Oh. So. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know. Where are you? Let me find you here. Where is you? I just saw you.
Second from the bottom.
Let's see. Hold on. It's not popping up. Where are you? I don't see you.
Yeah, you have to go to the YouTube chat.
I have to be on YouTube. Don't give it to StreamYard. Right. See, nothing but professionalism here, folks. I know what I'm doing.
No, this is how you learn. This is how you learn. This is how I learned.
Where are you?
If I didn't know anything, I just asked people who were doing it, how do you do this? So this is how you learn. And you should never be afraid to ask if there's something you don't know. Ask someone who does and ask them how they did it.
I still don't see you. This is... You just type in something random.
Do you have the chat set to live chat? Because that's another pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, no. Top chat, live chat, which is it?
Yeah, you have to set it to live chat in order to see all the messages.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I don't see... You haven't posted anything in chat that I see here.
Yes, I'm 5th from the bottom now.
See the web app.
You scroll all the way down?
Uh-huh.
I'll put in...
Yeah, type lobsters or something. I don't know. There it is. Here we go. Okay. Here we go.
So if you hover over my message, you see the 3 dots. And if you click on that.
There we go. Okay, cool. See, I didn't know. All right. Yeah. All right. Yay. All right, cool. All right. Well, you should now have a thingy.
Okay, let me post what I posted earlier. And now it should turn into a link.
Yay, there it goes.
Now we got a link.
Yay. Okay. All right. Cool.
Okay, Vortex Alpha, click on the link.
Go read your
check
paper.
Whether or not what I said is correct.
Yeah, he won't. I'm just saying he won't. But maybe he will. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. I'd love for that to happen.
I'd love... So one of the things, I'd love to talk to people like Vortex Alpha to see whether or not the claims they make can be checked
Yeah,
and
I've
can be
often
verified.
occurred.
So
Every now and again, you'll get the person that's like, "Oh, I'm not going to make any. I'm going to try to make you make all the claims and all that." I'm like, I'm a skeptic. That's the only claim I have. I'm skeptical about whatever. Whatever you got. What do you got? I'll be skeptical about it. So what claims do you have? It's like, well, how do you explain X, Y, and Z? I don't. Okay, so what's your argument? Because I don't claim to explain anything, and it's like, it's on you. If you think you got it, then fine. Tell me what that is. It's like, well, science doesn't explain X, Y, and Z. Okay, and so what? Why is that a problem? Why does that matter? What conclusion can you get to from saying that, well, I don't know X, then you don't know X? Well, I need to know how all this came to be. It'd be nice to know that. We know a little bit, but we don't know all of it. So, okay, now what? What are you saying from that? You're saying, therefore, something else is true. Therefore, my explanation is true. As you said, you can't do that. And I said, I agree. It's like, look, if you don't have an argument, you don't have evidence, you don't have a test, then all you have is, I don't know, therefore act. It's an appeal to ignorance, an appeal to personal incredulity. But yeah, you went for it. You went out there. You've been proactive in this, in trying to deliver truth to people and information and knowledge. And especially with epistemology, I think that's I always think it does come down to epistemology of how we decide what we know is true, what's the best system, and the fact that we humans, our sight will diminish, our hearing will diminish, and perhaps or even our brain will diminish, and I have to rely on people outside of me to tell me that that's happening, because I might not even know. And that's a scary thing. I'm not there yet, but one day I might be, and right now I'm doing okay, but we have to have this system outside of ourselves to help us check it, and that's the system of science. As far as I can tell, that's the best system we've come up with. Do you have any thoughts on I think the topic of the day has been AI as of late. I think that I have a lot of thoughts on AI. I saw a lot of AI theist channels popping up on YouTube, and it's just like, oh, come on, guys, I don't know, I'm not even going to respond to you guys because you're just AI. I responded to one, I think, but and then I asked the question, I was like, should we atheists make AI content to fight against the AI theist content? And it's like, no, because if we want less of it, then no, we shouldn't do that. So I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. What do we do with AI stuff? Do we ignore it? Do we worry about it? What do you think about that sort of thing?
I don't think we should trust it as a source of information, because AI will do what you ask it to do. If you ask AI to prove that a God exists, it will come up with an argument that a God exists, and that's it. AI will just do what you ask it to do. Yeah. AI is not a source of information. It can be, but it depends on the question that you ask. It depends entirely of what you do with an AI. You can have it go look for the evidence that you need, but you have to make sure that that the words you put into the AI is good enough so it will actually come up. Oh, hey, Blaster Master.
Nice
to see you. So,
any other profound wisdom to share with all of us, that you have over all the years? Have you? Oh, yeah. This is every now and then I get asked this question of, what's the best argument you've heard for God? And I don't really categorize things that way, because to me it's either a valid argument or a sound argument, or it's not a sound argument. And so far I've not had a sound argument, so they all suck. But do you have any maybe a favorite argument that you like, for or against any particular gods out there? Or?
I can't say that I have a best argument for God. The only thing comes close is, and this is something that I talked about with a longtime friend on Twitter yesterday. She has a mother who's 84, and her mother isn't in the best of health, and she keeps asking, is dad up in heaven looking after your sister who passed away as a child? What I would do in a case like that is I would just say, I'm pretty sure he's there, and I'm pretty sure my sister's there too, and you don't have to worry about anything. I mean, there's no use in arguing with someone who is at that age, is not in the best of health, and probably facing death at some point. You don't have to mess up whatever life they have left. So I wouldn't do that. So are there arguments where you can just agree that there is a God and just talk with people and pretend that what they believe is actually true? I think yes, but that depends on your own human empathy. So it doesn't mean God is real. It doesn't mean God is real. It doesn't mean that I believe in a God, but I would humor them because I don't see any need in upsetting them.
And maybe there is, as far as we know, there might be an afterlife without a God. I don't know. Why not? I don't believe in that, but
I don't.
Who knows? So why not? I mean, if we're gonna say there's it's like, why not? It could be, I don't know how that would work, but I don't know how anything works. So who knows? If there is, I'll be surprised. So, I'll be like, oh, well, that's interesting.
Your mind is an emergent property of your brain, and once your brain dies, you're gone. And we know this because there are things that can damage your brain and therefore damage your mind and completely change who you are. So this means that the mind is a property of the brain, and it is purely material, and there's nothing that is going to outlive you when you die. Your mind is not going to float out and be somewhere else. There's no such thing as a soul. So,
well, I get into an interesting thing there where if we could 3D print a brain and we 3D printed my brain, would that be me, or would it be a different me, or that sort of? It's like, I don't know. Would I be suddenly aware in two places, or just here? I would be locally here, but over the, that sort of thing where until we 3D print that brain, I don't know.
And I'll throw this out to the people in chat, and a lot of people who are in chat know me. If they 3D print my brain, they wouldn't need a lot of room. They could do that with a very small printer, I think.
I don't know about that, but I don't know the size.
You could do that with a 3D pen.
Look, it's not the size that matters; it's how you use it. That's what I've been told. Well,
that's what they tell me in my house too.
Peter, thank you so much for your time and energy. Hey, chat, you have questions for Peter specifically? Go ahead and post them now. Watch as they don't post them because they never listen to me. Chat's in its own universe again. What's the link to join? There is no link to join. This is an interview of Gonnagoforit. It's not that sort of thing. So definitely subscribe to Gonnagoforit's channel, and you will see him around, I am sure. And if and when you have a way to get you some sort of Amazon thing or money wise, I think that's certainly something to do. I myself couldn't afford to do anything, but this is what I did this interview, so I did a thing. I mean, but thank you so much for your time and energy.
I mean, this is what I'm about. I like doing this. So, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk to people, to talk to new people in the community, because I'm a very strong believer of one thing, and that is we want to reach a whole lot of people, and that's a big diversity of people, and the arguments one person makes would convince one person, not necessarily everyone. So the more people we have in the community having conversations about reality, the more people we will reach in the end. So this is why people always say, okay, you've been on here 10 years and you've got 2K subscribers on YouTube. I don't care about my subscriber count. I care about the fact that there are multiple channels doing the same thing. Because my channel is probably not going to make a big dent in teaching people epistemology. But if there are 10 or 15 channels, the size of my channel, now we're talking about a whole different thing, because they all have their own special way of presenting the case, of having conversations. And so this is why it's much more important to have multiple channels than just a single one.
Okay, so Blaster Master has a wonderful question for you.
Blaster Master is on Discord too much and bumps into Dawkins far too much. I mean,
I know him. I know Blaster. He's fun. He's just teasing you. But yeah, how do you substantiate for all that is and ever will be as a heathenistic demonic entity? Wow. Well, I mean, if you want to try to answer that loaded malformed question, go for it.
Shit! And now it doesn't work. I thought it might work.
Yeah, he knows you're teasing. Yeah, no.
Hold on. Do I have? No, I don't. Okay. Hold on. I can make this work somehow. Just going to let's go here.
Oh, there you go.
Then, there we go. Did that come through?
Yeah, you're holding an eagle.
No. Did you hear anything?
No.
My soundboard isn't working again. Okay, never mind.
Okay, I don't know.
It works. It works on my end. Apparently, it doesn't work everywhere. I've had this problem. So let's see. No, nothing I can do. Not right away. Anyway. So, damn. I wanted to use my Darth Dawkins soundboard. Yeah. I completely forgot the question. How do you substantiate for all that is and ever will be as a heathenistic
demonic entity? Yeah. So it assumes
there's
that you are.
There's no such thing as a demonic entity.
Well, it assumes you are the one. Yeah.
If there's a demonic entity, it would be me, Blaster Master.
Yeah.
And the way I substantiate for all that is and ever will be is because if it's real, it's real. If it has properties, it's part of reality, and everything that isn't part of reality probably isn't real. Or maybe we've just not discovered it. It's the pseudo philosophy of Darth Dawkins, and it breaks my brain. I like to toy with people like that.
But if we examine the quantum filament under the microscopic element of the quadratic formula within the inverse mitigations of the hypogations, we'll realize that not only is there no time within time, but I am right about everything because lobsters exist. Yes, it all makes sense.
I mean, I could do it. I could do it in a different way because I think there are people that have magical power. So I just moved from inside to outside. I'm now in front of my cabin.
Wow.
And if I wave my hand, you will see that Arn is behind me in the steamy window that will just steam up again.
Whoa.
And every single time I do this and wipe the window, See?
Wow, that's.
So
I mean,
how do you explain this if there is no God? How am I able to
no, Peter,
do
Peter,
this?
all hail Peter, all hail Peter. There's
I
no
mean,
other
and
explanation.
I can summon different people because if I'm correct, there's my co-host Artemis Brain Sample. He's there too. So how do I do this if I have both hands here, and basically, so I can show both hands and just wave. I'm not touching a button. You can see both hands. I'm still. So
well,
how does that work?
I mean, you've convinced me, and I'm a hard-boiled skeptic. So
See?
you've got your first follower. New religion. Let's. Although I mean, there might be a book called The Lobsterist that I've been trying to promote forever and trying to get somebody to debunk that maybe might be the book that's used for the new religion. But that's okay. We can follow your religion, Peter. We don't have to care about the lobsterist. All right. Anyways, thank you so much. All right, Peter. Thank you. And I don't think anyone had any actual questions for you. If they did, they can email you and set up a talk and all that. Thank you for joining me. And leave the last words to you.
Yeah, don't believe anything an atheist says on YouTube. Check their claims. That would be, because that's how you learn. And if I say check their claims, at least go to a place where you can actually check it. So don't go check it on a creationist website. Oh, there was one question. Am I an anti-theist? Yes, but this depends on how you define the word anti-theist. I think religion does more harm than good, and we should get rid of it. Does that mean that I want to do that by imposing a law? No. I think we should get rid of religion through education, and I think it's possible. And I think that is where the world is moving to. If you look at the United States, for instance, there are now more atheists than there are evangelical Christians. And I think they're about to get equal with the amount of Catholics in the United States as well. So the atheists are a growing group. And the only reason that they are a growing group is because we learn more and more through science. And that's it. All you need is an education, and that will help you dispel anything that we know is not true. So in that way, I'm an anti-theist.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And I'm wrapping up because I knew you had a certain time limit that I don't want to overextend. So thank you. And bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Did I push the button? Push the button. Okay.